Alright, ladies and gentlemen, for today's video, I'm going to be reviewing and unboxing the EasySMX T39 Pro controller that is compatible with the Nintendo Switch, iOS, Windows, and even the Steam Deck. Before I go any further, I just want to thank the kind folks over at EasySMX for sending over this controller for me to review. Just like any other product review video on my channel, my review is going to be 100% unbiased, as I just hate promoting bad products. But fun fact, this is not the first time I am experiencing a product by EasySMX. I actually did buy a wired EasySMX controller for my autistic sister for her computer. I'm gonna tell you right now, the durability on that controller is very impressive for something that was only $20. So I'm expecting some high quality material for the controller. I know they do advertise this controller as a budget-friendly controller with Hall effect joysticks. Yes, there's Hall effect joysticks on this controller. I'll be going over all the key features in just a moment. So let's get straight to unboxing. And before I do that, I just want to say I'm not exactly a huge fan of the packaging, as the thumbsticks are smashed up against the plastic. Like, I can even click on the thumbsticks. Not sure if you can hear that, but I'm going to give the packaging a solid 7 out of 10. I just wish the controller thumbsticks were protected just a little bit more. But like I said, these do have Hall effect joysticks, so that shouldn't be a big issue. So to unbox this, all you have to do is pull this tab. If it wants to cooperate with me. Pull the tab, pop the lid, then we can slide everything out. So in the box, we have the T39 Pro controller. And by the way, there are two variants of this controller. There's the T39 and the T39 Pro. The Pro, which is the one I have right here, has NFC functionality. So for those that love amiibos, you can actually use the controller to scan your amiibo, which is actually the first time I've seen a third-party controller have such a feature. In the box, you also get a business card. And it basically says, if you're unhappy, please contact customer support so you can put a smile back on your face. I love that. We also get a USB-A to a USB-C cable. And lastly, the instruction manual. Now, is this one of, yep, it's one of those gigantic instruction manuals where it's going to take over the whole entire video screen. But English is just this whole entire top row. Now, let's get this controller out. Well, I will admit, the casing that is being used to hold the controller in, it's definitely a tight fit, so the controller is not going to be moving around so much during shipping, which is great to know. Okay, so this controller, it's a very smooth controller, and it does not really have that much grip to it. I don't know how to really feel about it. I just prefer a controller with a little bit more grip to it. The thumbsticks, however, I really like them. They're just standard thumbsticks where it's concave in the middle, which is perfect for my thumbs to stay on and move around. But it also has a nice grip to it. My fingers are not going to slip off. The D-pad is, well, it's not bad. It feels nice. You can honestly just do this. I love that. The buttons are standard buttons, but none of them are jamming, which is great. Feels like it's going to be a very responsive controller. We have the plus here, the minus there. This also has turbo. Not sure what this button is. All right, Future Christian here. That button that I said that I was not aware of what it does, that's the screenshot button. Then for your home button, it's just the company's logo right here. That's your home button. The bumpers are standard. They're not sticking. They feel responsive no matter where you're clicking on it. And then the triggers, they're standard as well. All these buttons are responsive. And by the way, this bottom button right here, this is your spare button because they didn't put back buttons on this controller. Their ideology about that is to avoid misclicking, which I understand. I hate misclicking back buttons. The only downside about that is when you're gaming and you want to hit your extra button, your thumb does have to leave the thumbstick, because I'm not sure if you can play claw and hit the, yeah, it's not going to be possible. You have to leave your thumbstick. But I get the mindset, and this is where you insert the cable if you're just curious where the location was. It's a standard cable location, and this controller does have a price tag of $34.99 USD. Like I said, this is supposed to be a budget-friendly controller, but overall first impressions, it feels like a very nice controller. Alright, so I was trying to figure out why this controller felt so familiar, and when you compare it side by side to an Xbox controller, this one has super bad stick drift, but as you can see, it's a similar build design. Alright, so let's get straight to the key features of this controller. Like I said, this isn't the first time I am dealing with an EasySMX product. Their products have some pretty nice durability durability, and I feel like they took the extra step with this controller, as the casing has a dual structure panel design that does not come off, even though it looks like it could. Please don't take it off. It's sealed. It's on both sides. This controller is basically built for everyday use and accidental droppage, and it shouldn't break that easily. And has Hall effect joysticks, which are specially designed joysticks that should never develop stick drift in their lifetime. These joysticks utilize magnets and sensors for movement, so none of the parts physically touch, compared to standard joysticks. The internal parts rub against each other every time you move it around, and over time they get worn down and then stick drift appears. This controller is supposed to easily connect to iOS. I have an iPhone 13. It's supposed to easily connect to the Nintendo Switch. I own a Nintendo Switch OLED, and it's supposed to easily connect to Windows. I have a Windows PC. That's how I'm recording this video. The only thing I do not own is a Steam Deck, so I sadly cannot confirm if it is an easy connection process. But let's see how easy it is to connect this controller to the other three devices. First thing first, we got to go to settings, go to Bluetooth. Now we're gonna press and hold the home button for 3 seconds. Wow, that was fast. The device is named Pro Controller. There is no way it just connects that quickly. Okay. Now, is this the Xbox layout or the Switch layout? Okay, it's a Switch layout. And there's literally no delay. Honestly, I'm just very impressed with that experience. Now let's move on to the PC. Well, looking at the instruction manual, this section right here, where it says PC platform usage, it only has wired connection listed. I'm still gonna try out if you can even Bluetooth the controller to your PC, but if it has to be a wired connection, that's okay. I mean, on the bright side, with it being connected through a wire, you should never worry about a controller dying on you. The only downside about wireless controllers, you gotta stay on top of the battery life. Speaking of battery life, the battery life for this controller can last up to 21 hours of playtime, and it only takes about 2 hours to charge fully. Okay, so we have to first go to settings. All right, now we go over here to Bluetooth and devices. Now let's hold down this button for 3 seconds. I'll just click on Bluetooth. Oh, there we go. Pro Controller. That was honestly pretty darn quick. So that's connected, and you can tell it's connected because the light is solid blue now. And here we go. Everything feels great, actually. Wow, if you have a trigger finger, this trigger is actually pretty good for a standard trigger. So far, connects to the iPhone with ease, connects to Windows with ease. Now let's try it out on the Switch. Go over here to controllers, then change grip and order. Now from here, all we have to do is hold down the home button for 3 seconds till the light starts flashing. Okay, there we go. So as you can see, we are connected and very responsive. Now, if you're just wondering, when it comes to the controller's reaction to you turning on or turning off your Switch, when you turn it off, it follows suit. And it does have a wake up function. Hold down the home button for like a second. And as you see there, it turned on. So when it comes to connecting to each device, it does connect with ease. I will admit, with the Switch, it took a little bit longer, but that's absolutely fine. And you can tell it's connected by that middle blue light right there. And when it's searching, it flashes white. You do have color indicators letting you know what is going on with the controller. Speaking of this light indicator, when it does have a low battery, it will start flashing fast. When it's charging, it will flash slowly. And then when it's fully charged, it will stay lit. However, as I mentioned earlier, the battery life can last up to 21 hours of playtime, but in the instruction manual for the charging time, it actually says 2.5 hours. So when you read the Amazon description, it's going to say 2 hours, but the instruction manual says 2.5 hours. I want to point that out real fast. I would assume that this controller will connect to the Steam Deck with ease. Now, obviously, the easiest method to connect this controller to Windows and the Nintendo Switch is using the cable provided. All you have to do is plug it in. That's honestly a snug fit. Now, when you run away, what's gonna happen? When I mean run away, some gamers should know this feeling when you get up and forget your controller is wired. Oh, that is in there. Okay, there we go. It does release. That's great. But the easiest method to connect it to your PC or the Nintendo Switch is plugging it in, then plugging this into an open USB slot. So when you do connect this controller with the cable provided, it's not going to read properly on Windows. And there's a reason for that. I'm on a gamepad tester website. The thumbsticks are perfectly centered thanks to Hall effect. And as you can see here, it says Switch Pro Controller. So it's not going to work on Windows when it's in Switch mode. In order to switch this into a usable controller for Windows, you have to hold down the plus and minus button for a few seconds Now we're in Xbox mode. This is now usable for Windows. And as you can see here, for some reason, when you do switch this to Xbox mode and any other Xbox controller with Hall effect joysticks, it's always going to read as that number, but that's close enough to 0. It should stay like that forever. And as you can see here, the light will turn red. That's Xbox. I wish it was green though. And if you hold plus and minus for a few seconds, it's going to switch to blue. Blue is switch mode. I am so glad I'm doing this. So when you connect this controller with the cable provided to the switch, it's not going to work right off the bat. You have to change a quick setting on your switch. So using your Joy-Cons or another Pro controller, go to system settings, then go all the way down to controllers and sensors, then go all the way down to Pro controller, wired communication, and make sure to turn this on by simply pressing A on your Joy-Con or Pro controller, one that's already working with the switch. As you can see, you will get this pop-up. So the NFC functionality of this controller is not going to be usable. Hit OK. And now this controller is usable. The light will turn red when you're connected via wire to the Nintendo Switch. Don't worry, you still have the Switch layout. Now, like I mentioned earlier in the video, this controller does have an extra button. It's on the front, but to program this extra button, it's actually a very simple process. All you have to do is hold down the T button and your extra button for a couple seconds. It's going to vibrate and start flashing like this, which means it's in a recording state. If you don't hit anything, it's just going to turn off. In the recording state, you can actually program it to one button or multiple buttons. For now, I'm going to program it to A. So now we're in recording state. Press A, hit your extra button. It's going to vibrate to let you know that, hey, you just programmed it. So now whenever I hit this button, it's now my A button. Although my A button's right here, I can honestly just click it. So ideally with this controller, you're most likely going to be using your extra button for a multiple button command. So I'm going to program this to be A, B, A. Very simple. Just hold down the T button and the extra button for a couple seconds. It's going to vibrate. A, B, A. Turn it off. And when I say turn it off, I mean turn off the recording state. And now, and as you saw there, the chain function does work. This is ideal for fighting games. You can just put in a certain combo, but instead of just continuously clicking this button to perform a combo, you can program it into a turbo mode. And for that, all you have to do is press the extra button and the screenshot button at the same time. And as you can see, it's in turbo mode with the chain function. So if you're playing a fighting game, this is kind of broken. And to turn it off, just press that same combination of the screenshot button and the extra button together at the same time. And it will turn off. All right, now to test out this NFC functionality of this controller, I have my Animal Crossing game here. I'll summon Raymond. Now I believe all you have to do is head over to the main office. Is that what it's called? You know, this right here. Now I believe all you have to do is come over here. Yes, right here. Invite camper with the amiibo logo. All right, so from here, what do I have to do? Hold Animal Crossing series amiibo and an NFC touch point. I'm gonna assume it's right in the middle. Oh my goodness, it works. That's so cool. And for the final two key features about this controller, it does have a 6-axis gyroscope motion control, ideal for racing games. You know, you can use your controller to steer. And I briefly mentioned this earlier, but it does have a turbo mode. However, that was just me going over how to turn on turbo mode for the extra button. It is not the same process for the other buttons on the controller. So I will be going over that now. As you can see, when I tap the trigger, it only shoots one bullet, even when I hold it. The semi-automatic weapon. Now to turn this into a fully automatic pistol, all you have to do is just press the T button and the button you want to program. So I'm gonna press the T button and the right trigger at the same time. And now when I hold it, it's gonna treat this pistol like a fully automatic pistol. I don't have to use my trigger finger at all. And if I want to be lazy about it, repeat the same steps of pressing the T button and the button you want to program at the same time. And now I can just put the controller down and just let it have fun. I don't have to do anything. And I can tell you one thing, the vibration on this controller is pretty strong. I forgot, that's another thing about this controller. You can't adjust the vibration, and I really need to adjust it right now. And to turn it off, repeat the same steps. There you go. Turns off. Now to adjust the vibration, hold down the T button and then press down on your left thumbstick. Very simple process. There's 4 levels to choose from. 100%, which y'all saw. It was moving my controller across the table. Then you have 70%, 30%, and 0%, which just means it's off. But if you want the vibration to turn back on, all you have to do is just turn off your controller. I'm gonna hold down the home button for 5 seconds so the light turns off, and just press the button down. Should automatically reconnect. There we go. And now vibration is back on. And just to prove it to you, my controller is moving once again. Another neat feature about this controller is that you can actually disable the diagonal use of the D-pad. Although I can't think of any games on top of my head that have diagonal use of the D-pad. Here's an image showcasing what I mean by diagonal use. You can disable that by simply holding down the T button for 5 seconds. It's going to rumble in your hand, and when it does that, it means diagonal use is now disabled. But if you want to turn back on the diagonal use of the D-pad, just simply turn off the controller and turn it back on. Just like the vibration, when the controller turns it back on, those settings are just going to go back to normal. So now my final thoughts on the controller. I'm going to rate it on 2 different scales. For a budget-friendly controller, it's getting a perfect 10 out of 10. If I was on the market for a new controller for the Nintendo Switch, or a controller for my iPhone or Windows PC, and I was on a budget, I'm going straight to this controller. I've been using this controller a lot behind the scenes. I love the thumbsticks. I love how they took that extra step in making this controller as durable as possible. It has a turbo mode. It also has an NFC reader, which is something I don't always see on a third-party controller. And when you compare the price of this controller to Nintendo's Pro controller, there's a huge difference in price. Plus, their controller doesn't have Hall effect joysticks, yet it costs pretty much doubled. But basically, all I'm trying to say is there's so many good features about this controller, and that price tag of $34.99 USD is just a complete steal. And I would highly recommend, if you are on a tight budget or just looking for a nice controller to give as a gift, get the T39 Pro. But for my rating on the other scale, this is just comparing it to the higher end market controllers where the price tag is usually $45 or higher USD. I'm giving it a solid 9 out of 10. I'm only docking it a point for 2 little reasons, and these reasons aren't necessarily a deal breaker. It's just something that I personally prefer on my controllers. Number 1, I like having multiple programmable buttons on the back of the controller. This controller only features one that's in the middle, like I have said throughout the video. I understand the mindset. I would have loved having that extra button on the back so my thumbs never leave the thumbstick. And number 2, I just wish that the back of the controller did not have a smooth design. If they would have added like a little textured back panel to it, it would have been perfect. And these 2 reasons that I am bringing up are just personal preferences. But overall, this is still a very solid controller. I highly recommend you checking it out, especially if you play fighting games, racing games, or have games that utilize amiibo functionality. This is the controller for you. Hopefully today's video was helpful. Make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new, turn on those post notifications, all that good stuff, and I'll catch you all in the next video. Once again, massive shout out to EasySMX for sending me out this controller to review. I went into the review process with an open mind. I'm gonna be honest, this controller blew me away with its key features and only having a price tag of $34.99 USD. Of course, I'll have everything linked in the description. It's an Amazon link. But that concludes today's video. Thank you for watching.